An electronic presentation on workplace learning, created by Group D, Sarah Baer, Madeline Blackwood, Eric Butler, Glenda Imes, Leah Miller, Michael Raven, and Laurie Saunier. Workplace learning. Workplace learning that bridges the gap between employee skills and company needs is critical to every firm. Knowing what talents workers bring to the table currently and predicting which skills a company will need to succeed in the future is tricky.
The future of work is changing through greater connectivity that creates information availability and more mobility, greater machine capability and processing power, including artificial intelligence and robotics, workforce demographics of aging, cultural shifts, and globalization, social expectations regarding the meaningfulness of work, social endeavors, and gender equity. There will be greater availability of education, which will be more open, continuous, and offering more peer learning, just to name a few. But so is the future of workplace learning. Learning and development will become even more important, as advancements in technology and learning methodologies will be critical to ensure organizations remain competitive, as not everyone will be able to adapt, resulting in critical skill shortages. And learning programs will be needed that are impactful, engaging, and provide long-term adaptability and sustainability. There are four major influences that will shape the future of workplace learning. Number one, collaborative networks of more specialized jobs. The days of the generalists are numbered. Specialization will be the key to survival in the future. Technological and scientific advancements will result in an explosion of knowledge areas. It will be increasingly difficult to be a subject matter expert across a range of fields. Therefore, jobs will be broken up into smaller, more specific disciplines. Additionally, the need for brick and mortar offices and traditional roles supporting these workplaces will decline. In their place will be decentralized networks of teams that will collaborate across a more integrated people system to deliver work. To reach these decentralized teams and to keep them viable and sustainable, learning and training systems will need to change into adaptive systems that can reshape continuously. Number two, virtual learning networks. Advancements in technology will enable more and more remote working. For example, connectivity, mobility, anywhere, anytime access, synchronization across devices, cloud computing, collaboration tools, and social media tools, just to name a few. Workplace learning will need to break away from the fixed knowledge management and formal platforms. It will unlock people from physical locations. Learning and development teams will need to be more agile, effective, and innovative in providing learning solutions. Continuous learning in a format that is flexible and agile will be the key. Number three, demand for a variety of learning methods. Information channels will come from all directions. Learners will demand a variety of learning methods to keep track of the information, convert it into effective content, and deliver it in a way to facilitate learning and behavioral changes. The workforce will grow ever more impatient as their attention span will continue to shorten. Further, their available time for learning will continue to dissipate. Number four, individual readiness. Managers will need their teams to develop the ability to stay relevant to their expertise areas, participate in the digital transformation taking place, and look beyond the boundaries of their role and work to stay productive. In summary, learning and development will offer a difference-making experience by changing the mindset of the learner through technology and mentoring, encouraging a culture of collaboration and learning, and showing how sharing a common goal can help in extracting knowledge and enable learning.
For an organization to maintain its competitive edge, it is important to identify, assess, and close skill gaps. Skill gaps are contrast between the ideal performance and the employee's actual performance. skill gaps are the biggest detriment to attaining business goals. The organization's goal is to address skill gaps by improving processes and rectify root causes to avoid future competency gaps. To identify a skill gap, you must first determine the skills that are necessary for the success of an organization. For example, in a hospital, high patient satisfaction scores are paramount to the success of the organization. So how do you measure patient satisfaction? A patient fills out a survey which translates to the satisfaction percentage for their visit. The organization determines the percentage goal. The expectation may be to score a 90% or higher satisfaction rate. This measurement is referred to as a key performance indicator, also known as KPIs. KPIs determine how a person contributes to the business as an employee. KPIs are quantifiable measures used to evaluate success based on objectives for performance. When you determine a variance between job performance and KPIs, you have identified your skill gap. Once a skill gap has been identified, you must determine why the skill gap exists. Step 2 is to refine and define skills needed to obtain KPIs. Determine why a variance exists. 3 common methods for assessing skill gaps are observations. With observations, observe many people who are successful with a given skill and identify best practices. Now you can observe people who are not successful with a given skill and see how their process differs from best practices. The next thing that we will discuss is performance evaluations and audits. You can take the best practices and break it into individual steps. Now you can audit an individual and determine which specific step needs focus. The last assessment we will discuss is 360 performance reviews. In this review process, everyone who is associated with the skill gap is interviewed and asked, why do you feel the skill gap exists? Each assessment mentioned provides significant information to determine growing opportunities. This leads us to the last phase of working with skill gaps. Once you have identified why a skill gap exists, Step 3 is to determine the necessary training needed for performance improvement. We will discuss 3 training opportunities. The first opportunity is employee mentorship programs. In this program, the person who is identified with the skill gap is assigned to a mentor. The mentor is responsible for training them on the skill, documenting the process, and assuring their success. The next opportunity is training courses and conferences. However, be very careful when scheduling these conferences. Make sure that the conference you are attending is providing the information that is specific to your organization before putting out the money. The last opportunity we will discuss is a shadowing program. With the shadowing program, people who need visual aids to learn are allowed to go to other areas and learn from watching other people perform the skill.
Just like the marketing department in a company would launch a campaign to promote a new product, a great way to let your workplace know about an upcoming training is to create a marketing campaign to build anticipation about the training or training event. Think outside the box to create a short music video, attention-grabbing email, or interview some of the senior executives who are excited about the new training and turn it into a promotional video. Also, incorporating some type of fun activity like a scavenger hunt that involves company employees, is a great way to build excitement about the upcoming training. Through this activity, you're building excitement and also advertising the training in a way that makes the employees look forward to it because they want to see what else you're planning. This type of approach makes the training seem exciting and fun and should cut down on the groans that follow a company-wide scheduling email about an upcoming training. One tool that marketers use abundantly to sell their product is social media and various other internet-based services that allow others to collaborate and learn from each other. Creating a private group on a social media site or on an internal company discussion board could be a great way for employees to learn from each other in a social learning community that doesn't require them to be face-to-face or to sit through another PowerPoint presentation in a dimly lit room.
It is important to understand when identifying, assessing, and closing skill gaps that the process is a never-ending process. Once you have determined the proper training program to put in place to close the skill gap, you must constantly reassess to assure the training was successful. Sometimes during this reassessment, the KPIs change and we identify new skills that need to be in place to assure the success of the organization.
One way to increase the success of workplace learning is to approach it from a marketing standpoint. Learning and development in the workplace could learn a lot from the marketing professionals. It can be extremely difficult to engage employees in workplace learning, but it's very important for the continued development of employees and to the overall success of a company to have well-trained employees. LinkedIn's recent workforce learning report states that 93% of the employees surveyed would stay at their current company longer if their company invested in their learning and development. The report goes on to mention that this investment in employees' careers is an expectation of today's new hires. As important as retaining talented employees is, creating successful workplace learning has become even more important to the success of companies. The role of a marketer is to create awareness and build excitement around a new product or service so that consumers will buy into it and ultimately spend money on it. Why can't people in training and development do the exact same thing with workplace learning? For workplace learning to be successful, it's very important to know your audience and know the needs of your company when planning your workplace learning. Increasing workplace learning and increasing engagement in workplace learning are very closely related. You can increase workplace learning by requiring it, but truly increasing engagement takes more than a mandate. We know from studying andragogy that adults need to understand the why and be able to apply what they are learning to the real world for them to be engaged in learning. Also, it is very important to align workplace learning with company goals so that the learning will be useful to the employees. By aligning the learning with the needs and goals of the company, employees will understand the why and will be more engaged in the learning. Another way to know your audience is to create learner personas, like marketers do with buyer personas. Buyer personas are fictional representations of different customers one might encounter. By creating these different personas, marketers are able to learn how to entice these different buyers into purchasing their product. This can be easily adapted to workplace learning by understanding the different learners one has. One way to do this is to conduct a training needs assessment to determine what topics the employees are interested in and what they need to learn in order to advance in their career. This will allow a training and development professional to create different learner personas that they can tailor their trainings to. Another way to increase workplace learning by following the examples of marketers is to use more than one method to reach employees. Just sending an email to share information about learning isn't the best way to share the information. Try using a mix of media sources to catch their attention. Use images, interactive websites, social media as a way to increase marketing among employees through word of mouth. Marketers always try to make the buying process as easy as possible. They don't want their customers to have to jump through hoops or use multiple websites, just like we shouldn't ask employees to use several different websites and passwords to access workplace learning. Using one central hub as a place to store all workplace learning and then sharing it through multiple forms of media can make the process very simple. Marketers also measure their processes to find the best and most cost-effective way to sell their product. Adult educators should do the same thing by continually checking in and measuring the learning processes to make sure that they are working.
The modern employee has access to more information and opportunity than ever before. Learning potential is at its most accessible when it comes to workplace learning, and bridging the gap between employee skills and company needs has become less of a challenge and more of an opportunity. Utilizing self-directed learning, or SDL, the modern employee can create goals individually and learn at their own pace and in an environment that works for them. The 3 goals of SDL, as discussed by Miriam et al., are to enhance the ability of adult learners to be self-directed in their learning, to foster transformational learning as central to self-directed learning, and to promote emancipatory learning and social action as an integral part of self-directed learning. An international study in 2014 found that mobile learning in adult education can help form identity and self-representation. Using the limitations of Miriam and Mesereau's theories on andragogy and self-directed learning, mobile learning works to connect adult education and lifelong learning.
Because technology changes daily, employees realize that there are skill gaps with their employees. Digital transformation requires that technology services be delivered in a fast, agile, and streamlined manner across the entire organization. Although this can present many challenges for the organization, more importantly, it allows for huge opportunities to improve efficiencies across the organization. Digital transformation is a hands-on activity. If you want your company to continue to succeed in this ever-changing world of technology, you must take a stance and make the change happen. Executives can't sit back and hope the company will survive without doing something to keep up with the change. No business will survive if it doesn't respond to the digital transformation that is taking place around it.
Online learning is becoming more popular in the workplace. Some benefits of online learning is that it can accommodate all learning types. It provides opportunities such as videos from instructors, reading, visuals, and quizzes to test understanding. Working in groups is another opportunity online learners have. Using synchronous tools such as Skype, FaceTime, or Google Hangouts, learners are able to use real-time meeting to work in groups. Asynchronous tools like Moodle or Blackboard provides the learner an opportunity to have discussions with peers and the instructor. Another benefit of online learning is the workplace cost effectiveness of it. By reducing the time needed for traveling and full continuing education workdays through online learning, the organization is able to cut down on costs associated with these expenses. This is also beneficial for the workplace as it allows for employees all around the world to get the same information in a cost-beneficial way. This allows for a more cohesive and controlled learning environment and an opportunity for the workplace to keep a pulse on all information being taught to the employees, thus leading to less confusion or chaos. For the learner, it provides a large benefit as they now have the flexibility to work on courses when most convenient to them. This freedom helps the student feel as though they are in control of their education and can balance their work life, family, and school in a way that best suits their lifestyle. For some workplaces, encouraging learning is an added benefit for both the learner and the organization. So providing the students a certain amount of time during the day to work on online courses could be an added bonus for both. Challenges associated with online learners include if the learner receives and understands the material as well as the instructor would teach it in the classroom. This includes the challenge on the instructor as they are not able to assess the needs of the students as well through an online portal. When challenges arise in a classroom or the instructor feels they need to spend more time on a specific topic, they are able to do so by adjusting their schedule as needed. With online courses, it is more difficult for the instructor to gauge this information as well, as it is more challenging to make changes to the curriculum as needed. This is when continual feedback and communication between instructor and student is so important to make sure the student understands the material, feels comfortable asking questions, and is confident in the way he or she has been learning. Utilizing online quizzes is also helpful to gauge when the student is in the process. Another challenge is the computer and technology issues that the learner could run into while doing online courses. Making sure that the learner is using the most up-to-date software and computer system is very important when starting online courses. Understanding how to use the correct online sites such as Moodle and Blackboard will help the student succeed in the course. Without these tools or other resources such as Google Hangouts, FaceTime, Skype, and Google Docs, the learner's education will be hindered as all information comes from these resources. Hosting an optional in-person course, online group meeting, or sending an informative video out prior to the course starting would help the student understand how to use the resources better and enhance their learning. Often, online learning has many resources beyond the course, such as tutoring or study skills, but the learner doesn't know how to access these resources. This extra time could help the learner learn how to use these resources. Lastly, isolated learning is not beneficial for all individuals. Making sure the course has an equal mix of individual work with group work will help make the learner feel as though he or she is not alone in the course and has a community of students surrounding them. If not, isolation can lead to the learner feeling as they should drop out of the course from a lack of community support. Online learning is gaining more popularity in our society. It is going to continue to be an important tool and resource to organizations and the workplace as it empowers the learner to continue education at a pace he or she is comfortable with. If the workplace has not already, they will need to adjust to these changes and embrace the use of online learning.
How can we improve learning and development in the workplace?
Hello, my name is Eric Butler, and today I will be covering strategies for effective workplace learning. What I want the viewers to get some insight or some understanding on the strategies for effective workplace learning. The first area I want to cover is the manager's passion to coach their employees. Historically, managers pass on knowledge, skills, and insight through effective coaching and mentoring. But in a more global, complex, and competitive world, the role of the managers has been a lot. Managers are now overwhelmed with additional duties and responsibilities. They can barely handle their direct tasks, let alone coaching and mentoring. Organizations need to support this initiative for managers to perform this work. The next area I want to cover is the short shelf life on learning and developing skills. It used to be that what you learned was valuable for years, but now knowledge and skills has become obsolete within months. This makes the need to learn rapidly and regularly more important than ever. This requires organizations to rethink how learning and development happens from a once in a while activity to a more continuous, ongoing campaign. The next area I want to cover is teach employees to own their career development. Highly structured, one-size-fits-all learning programs does not work anymore. Individuals must own, self-direct, and coach their learning futures. Yet, they cannot do this alone, nor do you want them to do this alone. The development and growth of your talent is vital to the organization's success, and also the ability to innovate with overwhelming production needs. The next area I want to cover is managers must provide flexible learning options. Tell employees they need to engage in a more learning and development activity with their already heavy workload often leaves them feeling overwhelmed and consumed with questions. When and how will I find time? Companies must respond by adapting a on-demand and mobile solution that makes learning opportunities more readily accessible for their employees. The next area I want to cover is serve the learning needs of a more virtual team. While most organizations have many people working remotely and virtually, it does not require more thought and creativity in how you train your workforce. This includes formal types of learning through courses, but also the informal mentoring and coaching channels. Just because the employees are out of sight doesn't mean they get to be out of mind when it comes to learning and development. The next area I want to cover is we must build trust in organizational leadership. People crave transparency, openness, and honesty from their leaders. Unfortunately, business leaders continue to face issues of trust. If leaders disengage or refuse to share their own learning journeys, how can they expect their employees to be enthused about their future career paths? The last area I want to cover is match different learning options to different learning styles. With 5 generations in the active workforce, let's think about this. We got young individuals in the workforce. We got young individuals just finished college in the workforce to our senior employees. Organizations must restructure the way employees learn and the tools and activities they use to correctly match different leadership styles. For example, the millennial age use cell phones, computers, and video consoles. That is their way of learning through technology. Thank you all for listening and have a good day.
In conclusion, workplace learning is changing, and so must both organizations as well as employees and adult learners. We must lead our organization into identifying, assessing, and closing the skill gaps. We must approach workplace learning from a marketing standpoint. We must be willing to tap into the potential of all learners. The LSU Leadership and Human Resource Development class, Group D, would like to thank you for your attentiveness and your time today. And please have a great day. Thank you.